Hey everybody, welcome to Cousin Jack Carves. Today, part 2 of our tutorial on how to make this snowman. Today we're going to be putting in the brim of that hat, identifying where that is. We'll identify where that scarf will be. We'll continue to shape and kind of form the way that this thing is going to look. Also, just a reminder, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, remember to get the notifications. We're going to be giving away Snowman number 1 to one of the subscribers, so make sure you're subscribed. Also, when you're watching me, make sure you know I'm a lefty. So as a left-handed person, when you see me switch the wood around the other direction, if you're right-handed, you'll probably be doing the opposite. It's okay. It's all the same cuts, just a different direction. Let's get rolling. We're ready for part 2. So we haven't done a lot with the front of the snowman yet. It's relatively untouched. And I mentioned earlier we were going to wait before we drew in the lines for the brim of the hat coming around to the back. And guess what? We're there. So what we're going to shoot for, you can see the brim of the hat here on snowman number 1 is higher than the back. It slopes downward. It's about a 1/4 inch lower in the back. Also, you can see the scarf higher in the back and slopes down toward the front. So we're going to start drawing in some pencil lines to prepare for that hat brim, identifying where that will be, and we'll get our scarf penciled in. So let's go ahead and start with some measurements. On snowman number 1, we know from the top of the hat, we're going to come down about 1 1/4 inches. Remember, on the front for the brim, we came down 1 inch. So that 1 1/4 inches in the back should put us where we want to be. Okay. So now we're going to just draw a line. Just simply pencil this in. Come from the back where you made your mark and just gently slope it upward. Same thing on the other side. Going to start to bring our pencil mark back from the front. Reach back here where we made our mark. And you may say, well, that's not a very clean line there, Jack. It's okay, folks. It's going to be all right. All we're doing now is identifying the slope of the brim and where it will be. And you can see we're going to reach that slope. So there we go. Let's take a look at the scarf now. On snowman number 1, we have that nose already identified, where that's going to be on our carving. So from the bottom of the nose, not the top, but the bottom of the nose, we're going to come down 1/2 inch and pencil in where that scarf, the knot on that scarf, will be. All right. I'm just going to hold this on the flat part. That's a little easier for me. Coming down from the bottom of the nose, 1/2 inch. Now, one thing you'll notice on this scarf and the knot that I made, it's not symmetrical, right? And it's not round. I don't think I've ever tied a round knot in my whole life. So it's more of a rectangular sort of a shape. So let's just pencil in a shape where we know that knot will be. All right. So that, again, is the front of the scarf. Now, in the back, we're going to come down from the mark we made on that hat brim. We'll be coming down 3/4 inch to identify where the top of that scarf will be on the back side. Let me get this in the frame for you. And what you don't see, folks, is every time I mess up and get out of the frame, Miss Sunny taps me on the shoulder and says, do it right. All right, so here's where we have the bottom of the hat brim in the back that we just made. we're going to come down 3/4 of an inch and make a mark. So we know now this is where that scarf will be along the back of that snowman. We also know where the scarf will be, the top edge of it will be on the front of that snowman. So we're going to, again, slope this downward. It's almost as if you look at snowman number 1, right? It's almost as if he has some shoulders, okay? And this is draping down and gently sloping over those shoulders. You can see, again, it's higher in the back and lower in the front. So that's how we want to draw this line, so that it's kind of sloping down over those shoulders. We'll do the same thing on this side. Bring it around from the back, the mark we just made. Bring the front up to where we would see those shoulders. And you know, you want to look at it from the front so you can reference this side, right? Work on that same sort of slope and then connect the dots. Now again, this is, you know, it's a cloth scarf, it's material. It doesn't have to be a straight line, and it shouldn't be straight. You may want to have curves in it. That's okay. Not a problem. So with the scarf, it's about a 1/2 inch from top to bottom. So with that, we would just identify, let's say, where a 1/2 inch would be from the top of the scarf to the bottom, just to give you a relative idea of the width, and then just carry that throughout. And yeah, I'm not measuring out all these marks and then drawing them in. And sometimes we just have to go with the flow. Again, it's supposedly cloth. And as you would expect, sometimes a scarf would have folds in it. So if you want to make folds, by all means, enjoy that, do that. So on the front, what you'll see with this design that Mike Shipley put together is that the scarf, the knot is centered right here in the middle, so that the scarf hangs down over where, let's say, the buttons would be on a normal snowman. If you wanted to, you could put your knot over to the side, right, and have it draping down and then put buttons. It's yours, right? Make it yours. For this example, we're going to just follow what we have here on this snowman. And you can see, for example, it has the width on this side and then sort of tapers into where the knot would be on this half of the scarf. This is sort of tucked under this one over here. So we have it getting narrow because you can't see it. It's behind that one. All right? Let's draw that. And again, make it yours. You can do something different if you want. You can be creative. So I put a little curve in there at the bottom. I'm so artsy, right? Okay, let's continue. So, and we're going to have those tassels, right? The fringe of the scarf will be down here at the bottom. I want to make sure I capture that curve on this side. And then, again, I'm going to take the other one, the other piece, make it narrow at the top because it's hiding behind this one. And then have it sort of fringe out this way. Be like that. Again, it's sort of tucked in behind this side. You can do yours however you'd like, okay? And on that knot, eventually we'll be putting a line across here like this, basically to indicate that it's tucked in. Here it's a knot. So I think we've got some starting points. Let's put on our gloves. Hopefully you have your knife all stropped. It's ready to go. And we'll take off some more material. So same as yesterday, using the same tools, same gloves, everything that I talked about during that first video. So the first thing we'll do is we'll cut in this line for the brim of the hat. And what we want to do is sort of undercut that. So when you hear someone talking about an undercut, it's going to give the effect that the head is tucked in under that hat. And what you may see when you watch carving videos, you'll see that carver come in here and make a cut. I would encourage you to watch the back of their blade to see the angle that they're cutting. So with that undercut, what we're going to do is angle the blade like this into the wood to make that undercut. See the difference here? Watch the back of the blade. It's very subtle, but as you watch carving videos, pay attention to where the back of that blade is, and that'll give you an idea about the angle that the carver is using. All right, so again, we're going to come in here, angle that blade, have my thumb braced on this side of the wood. I'm just going to make a line with the tip of my knife. When you get to the edge, remember, just rock your knife a little bit. Don't try rolling around the side of that carving because it's so easy for you to slip and again hurt yourself. Don't want that. So now we'll just continue from there around the back. Again, angle that blade. Rock when you get to a turning point. Get back on that tip, angle it. And continue. Remember, you're putting in a slope here, right? The back is lower than the front. Back on the tip, angling that knife. Coming up to the front now, on the other side. When you get to that middle of the front, again, we're rocking that knife. Now we have ourselves a stop cut to help us identify where we're going to just leave that material alone when we're removing other parts. Now we'll do the same thing with the scarf. It's going to be a little different though, because when we're cutting in the top edge of this scarf, now we're going to be undercutting again because we want that effect that the head is tucked into the scarf. So for this undercut, that blade is actually angled the other way. Okay? Just going to start by rocking the knife where the center of that knot is. I'm going to angle that blade and start making this line. And it's got some curvature to it, this line. Get to this turning point over here. It's going to rock a little bit. Come back in on the tip of that knife and angled again. You know, and take your time, folks. There's no need to be in a hurry. If you ever need to, just pause the video, come back to it. Not going anywhere. Coming up on this turning point, just going to rock that knife. Okay. So back in here on the tip, angled again, coming back to the front. Okay, that's the top of the scarf. Let's go in and do the bottom of the scarf. Now for this, I'm going to be turning this upside down because I'm left-handed and I want to see where I'm going. You may be right-handed, in which case you may have just had that cut turned upside down to be easier for you. So now we're going to come in here. And again, we're going to angle this blade. Again, you can see this time we're going to be tucking in the body underneath the scarf. So the undercut will be angled like this. Okay? Going to get the tip of the knife in, angle the blade, and just follow the line. You know, it does not have to be exact. We're just making some reference points right now. Okay, back in here with the tip, angled again. Keep your thumb braced against the side, give you some leverage. I'm going to rock this knife right here. What I really want to stress is safety. You know, if you can enjoy carving or whittling without hurting yourself, it's a lot more fun. I can't tell you how many times I cut myself. When I started carving, carving gloves were not really broadly used. Didn't know about them. Okay, so we've gotten our way back here to the front. Let's go ahead and put in some stop cuts around the front of this scarf that drapes down. Now, again, we're going to undercut. So for this cut, we're going to be angling the blade like this. Back of that knife, you can see where it goes. To start, we're going to get in here with the tip of the knife into that corner. Angle a little bit. You can see my thumb is right here against the bottom. And we have a little curve going on here. And when you get to the bottom, we're going to rock the blade, okay? Just rock it. Because if you try to put some pressure and you're coming down, you can hurt yourself. Okay, same thing on this side. I'm going to put the blade of the knife, or the tip of the knife in here. So we're going to be angled the other direction. Now for me, again, being left-handed, I'm going to start from the bottom so I can see where I'm going. I'm going to put that tip in there, angle that blade, and just bring it on up, following that curve that we made with the pencil line. All right. So these stop cuts will help us out. We're going to continue with getting our shape made. And the first thing that we'll do is kind of carve our way up to that stop cut where the hat brim is. This is where we have to be kind of careful, all right, because it's easy to knock off part of that brim. The reason we have the stop cut in the first place is just to give us that reference point. We're not working on the hat quite yet because, like we talked about yesterday in the first video, because that brim is going to be fragile. Now again, we're still shaping this, roughing it out. You can see that, you know, it may not be pretty yet, but we'll get there. Right now, we're just kind of giving ourselves some reference points, okay? Right here, remember, we have the top of our nose coming up. Now, once we have this little bit of stop cut sort of set in place, we'll be a little more aggressive and take off more material. Sometimes what you can do, if you're aware of where the tip of your knife is, you can just ride it along underneath that stop cut and bring it out. Important to know where the tip of the knife is, though, because otherwise you can create a lot of fuzzies, which are like the opposite of what we want, right? It's always good to have nice clean cuts. But when you're first starting out, you may not really have that awareness of the blade, where the tip of the knife is. You know, experienced carvers, as they go, it's like the knife becomes an extension of their hand, and they can do some amazing things, right? And you can get there. Just give it some time. Just cleaning up a little bit right back here. So now that we have that established as far as a stop cut, we're going to take away some more of this material. Just working our way up from above where that scarf will be eventually, because we want that head, of course, to be smaller than the circumference of the brim of the hat for sure. Now eventually, I'm sure what we'll be doing is bringing down that brim and even making the area around the scarf smaller. Right now it's sticking out quite a bit, and we know that the widest part on the snowman will be down here. Okay, so we still have some work to do to get where we need to be, but it's really important to know where these things will occur as far as having a scarf established, having the brim of the hat established, just so we avoid removing too much material. You know, that's another thing that a beginner carver will sometimes do. They get going on a carving, start cutting away. Before you know it, some of the material that is needed for a particular, you know, feature or piece of the carving is now gone. And you can't really get it back, right? You can't just pick up the chips and get them back on there. It's kind of like trying to get the toothpaste back in the tube. It doesn't work. So that's why we're doing this way, right? We want to know where we want to leave that material that we're going to be working with, so we don't accidentally just cut it off and mess up the whole thing. That's why we put that circle around the nose early on, because we knew we needed that material. And you remember that the head and the way it's designed is smaller at the top than it is around, like, say, the jawline, let's call it. So we definitely want to kind of tuck that head up under that brim of that hat. You can see this cut. This is sort of a lever, right? Use this thumb along with your hand to make a lever. It's one of the cuts that's very common and used a lot. I'm sure as you carve, you'll use it a lot as well. And, you know, different carvers will do it a different way. I've seen some carvers who put their thumb on top of the other thumb. Some who put it on top of the blade. Whatever works for you, you know, use that method. But it's pretty much all the same. It's about using a lever like that to make some cuts. So we're starting to get that brim worked in the back over here, and you can see that the head is going to be tucking up under there. You know, we're getting the front now looking pretty good. And we do want the top of that head to be narrow as compared to the bottom. Okay. Let's get in here right around the top of that knot. Just work up a little bit. Be careful coming up around that nose. And while we're at it, let's make a stop cut around that nose. Leave some extra material. And this will help us and keep us from cutting off our nose to spite our face. Okay? There we go. Just, again, getting a reference point. Going to bring the tip of my knife along the side of that stop cut. Bring it on up. On this side, again, being left-handed, turning it upside down. Bringing this up. It's a little more difficult when you're working on the upside down side of it. That's why whenever you're working on something like eyes or something that needs to be symmetrical like that, I always encourage people to start with the side of the face that you have to do upside down, because it's going to be the hardest one. So get that eye first and have it all finished before you move over to the other side and the other eye, because you won't be working upside down. When you do the other eye, it'll be easier to make it look like the one you just finished. Just continuing to work on this front now, getting rid of some of the bandsaw marks and the flat areas that we did not touch yesterday. Come down here a little bit, and remember we have that stop cut where we put in the top edge of the scarf, and I'm just going to bring the tip of the knife blade under there and bring it back out. Come back with my knife. And we'll help to get that top edge of the scarf established. Now that one didn't pop out the way I would like it to. Just going to come back at it from the other direction. So there we go. That's a good start. Now, like I was saying, we're definitely going to be bringing these shoulders down some. But it's good to have the front, the top edge of it established so we know where that head is going to be coming downward into that scarf. Okay? It helps us with shaping and getting this thing all set. Coming down to the top of the knot. Now I'm coming from the bottom of the nose, doing a little bit of a scoop cut. Don't think we've talked about that one yet. Or yeah, I think I did a little bit yesterday. So with that cut, I'm putting the knife in near the bottom of the nose and turning the blade as it goes down, sort of like a scoop, like this. Okay? I just got tapped on the shoulder. Okay. All right, so we've got ourselves some good lines established where that scarf will be, where that hat brim will be. And we're at that point where I think we'll drop our knives, get ourselves ready for some additional work on here. before we know it, this guy's going to have a face and a scarf all set up. That hat will be probably one of the final elements that we'll work on. So hopefully you've been able to follow along and have some fun and enjoy yourself. We're going to finish this up right now. Like I said, strop the knife and get ready for the next part. All right? So that's it for part 2. Thanks for riding along. We'll see you next time.